Erikson's psychosocial theory. Now, let's turn to a less controversial theorist, Erikson. Erikson suggested that our relationships and society's expectations motivate much of our behavior in his theory of psychosocial development. Erikson was a student of Freud's, but emphasized the importance of the ego, or conscious thought, in determining our actions. In other words, he believed that we are not driven by unconscious urges. We know what motivates us, and we consciously think about how to achieve our goals. He is considered the father of developmental psychology because his model gives us a guideline for the entire lifespan and suggests certain primary psychological and social concerns throughout life. He believed that we are aware of what motivates us throughout life and that the ego has greater importance on guiding our actions than does the id. We make conscious choices in life, and these choices focus on meeting certain social and cultural needs rather than purely biological ones. Humans are motivated, for instance, by the need to feel that the world is a trustworthy place, that we are capable individuals, that we can make a contribution to society, and that we have lived a meaningful life. These are all psychosocial problems. Erikson divided the lifespan into 8 stages. In each stage, we have a major psychosocial task to accomplish or crises to overcome. Erikson believed that our personality continues to take shape throughout our lifespan as we face these challenges in living. Here's a brief overview of the 8 stages. Trust versus mistrust. Birth to 1. The infant must have basic needs met in a consistent way in order to feel that the world is a trustworthy place. Autonomy versus shame and doubt. 1 to 2 years. Mobile toddlers have newfound freedom. They like to exercise, and by being allowed to do so, they learn some basic independence. Initiative versus guilt. 3 to 5 years. Preschoolers like to initiate activities and emphasize doing things, quote unquote, all by myself. Industry versus inferiority. 6 to 11 years. School-age children focus on accomplishments and begin making comparisons between themselves and their classmates. Identity versus role confusion. Adolescence. Teenagers are trying to gain a sense of identity as they experiment with various roles, beliefs, and ideas. Intimacy versus isolation. Young adulthood. In our 20s and 30s, we are making some of our first long-term commitments in intimate relationships. Generativity versus stagnation. Middle adulthood. The 40s through the early 60s, we focus on being productive at work and home and are motivated by wanting to feel that we've made a contribution to society. Integrity versus despair. Late adulthood. We look back on our lives and hope to like what we see, that we have lived well and have a sense of integrity because we lived according to our beliefs. These 8 stages form a foundation for discussions on emotional and social development during the lifespan. Keep in mind, however, that these stages or crises can occur more than once. For instance, a person may struggle with a lack of trust beyond infancy under certain circumstances. Erikson's theory has been criticized for focusing so heavily on stages and assuming that the completion of one stage is prerequisite for the next crises of development. His theory also focuses on the social expectations that are found in certain cultures, but not in all. For instance, the idea that adolescence is a time of searching for identity might translate well in the middle-class culture of the United States, but not so well in cultures where the transition into adulthood coincides with puberty, through rites of passage, and where adult roles offer fewer choices. Main points to note about Erikson's psychosocial theory. Erikson was a student of Freud, but focused on conscious thought. His stages of psychosocial development address the entire lifespan and suggest primary psychosocial crisis in some cultures that adults can use to understand how to support children's social and emotional development. The stages include trust versus mistrust, autonomy versus shame and doubt, initiative versus guilt, industry versus inferiority, identity versus role confusion, intimacy versus isolation, generativity versus stagnation, and integrity versus despair.